a multifaceted personality with us. It's A.K. Sriram sir, the senior advocate of Madras High Court. Few words about sir. Sir is the son of an illustrious advocate, A.S. Kailasam, who was also a senior advocate of the Madras High Court. Sir was a student of the Madras Law College and belonged to the 1992 batch. Sir is well known for his wit and wisdom. He has participated in culturals during his college days. After his enrollment, he appeared as the advocate for many of the temples in and across Tamil Nadu. Sir has made his mark in the field of original jurisdiction, writ jurisdiction, and commercial litigations. He is one of the sought-after senior counsels of our High Court, and I deem it my pleasure and honor in having Sir amongst us today. Thank you so much, Sir, for making it up to our event today. Now, I request our Registrar Ma'am to kindly give a small token of gratitude to Sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now with this, I cordially invite sir onto the podium to share his insights on the topic communication skills as an art of advocacy. Over to you, sir.
Sir has come all the way for you all. உங்களுக்காக தான் வந்திருக்காங்க. So கொஞ்சம் அமைதியா இருந்தீங்கன்னா you can hear a very good lecture or you can gather vast knowledge from his experience. So kindly keep silence. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon everybody. Interaction. Okay. I didn't expect that the interaction would start right with the good afternoon. There's only one small correction to what your friend here said. My father was a lawyer, no doubt, but he was not a senior advocate. He was a senior person, but definitely not a senior advocate. My grandfather was a senior advocate. So basically what we are trying to say is that we come from a family of lawyers. Once we come from a family of lawyers, don't think that my grandfather, my father and me, 3 generations mattum kadayadu. My grandfather was a lawyer. My grandfather's younger brother was a lawyer. He was a lawyer, he was a tax lawyer in a place called Kottayam in Kerala. My father was a lawyer. I'm now a lawyer. My wife is a lawyer. I know. Wife itself is a troublesome thing. Wife being a lawyer is an even more troublesome thing. I hope she's not here. Okay. Yeah, Attapaya is a lawyer. And hold your breath. My mother-in-law is also a lawyer. There's nothing to applaud. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, at home, we do nothing except argue and talk to others. And therefore, the question of communication comes into play. There's one thing that was not mentioned, that I was not the speaker who was supposed to come and actually talk to you. It was a chap called T. Mohan, who's also a senior advocate. He's unfortunately a bit unwell today and therefore he couldn't come. So I was informed about this, and before my friend Siva can shake his head, I was informed about it around approximately an hour ago. Do you people, can you all hear me? Okay. You all saw that Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli recently retired from from T20 internationals. Whoever be the replacement, do you think that they are going to be as good as Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli? Same way, a substitute for T. Mohan is not going to be as good as him. As long as you understand that This is called effective communication. Me telling you that I will not be as good as Mohan or Mr. Tyagarajan, who spoke previously before you. As long as you understand that basic concept, we're good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the ability to make people understand what you're saying so that they get what you're trying to say. That is the basis of good communication or effective communication. Okay. Now, effective communication, I'm really sorry, I normally don't make notes at all, but since I'm going to be addressing, I think Mohan told me around 200 odd students are going to be here. I did not want to be judged, and therefore I made a few notes. And believe me, this is one of the few times that I've used this iPad Pro. I don't use it too much for cases. So, effective communication includes saying the right thing in the right manner and at the right time. I'll give you a real life example. My wife does only matrimonial matters. She appears only in the family courts for divorces, maintenance cases, and custody cases. But for her, unfortunately, we've been married now for around 28 years. Unfortunately for her, charity does not begin at home. She does not believe in practicing what she preaches and advises to her clients. I've tried my level best. Siva knows that I'm as incorrigible in court and at home as I am before you. I'm as bad everywhere. So in spite of my best hints, in spite of my best methods to see that my wife takes some action, she has not done it. But we are digressing. She does only matrimonial cases, and one of her cases, a real life case, I'm going to give you a small example. The husband filed for divorce, and the reason why the husband filed for divorce is wife வந்து B.Ed course பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தா. Somebody, the wife's friend, also was doing the B.Ed course along with the wife. They wrote their exams, B.Ed exams, and the wife's friend sent her an SMS. Congratulations, both of us did very well in B.Ed. The point is, autocorrect and the full stop mattum varala. Both of us did well in bed. Congratulations. This was the message that was sent by a friend to the wife. And the husband filed a divorce on that basis. Therefore, நான் என்ன சொல்ல வரேன்னா, என்ன சொல்றோங்கிறது மட்டும் முக்கியம் கிடையாது, எப்படி சொல்றோங்கிறது முக்கியம். And that is the basis for effective communication. Anybody want to ask me any questions? Please feel free. நான் இதுக்கெல்லாம் ரொம்ப ஒன்றும் ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணல, so you can ask me whatever you want. Not about this bed and all that, generally. Okay. Now, communication skills and effective communication is relevant the world over in every aspect of your life. Be it trade, be it business, be it politics, be it economics, be it even a medical surgery. In a surgery, if there is no effective communication between the surgeon and who is the most important person in a surgery place other than the surgeon? Anesthetist. I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you. Okay. Unless there is good communication between the surgeon, the surrounding nurses, the paramedical staff, and more importantly, the anesthetist, the surgery will never happen properly. It could be fatal. When we're talking about fatalities, a very, very interesting conversation. I told you my grandfather was a senior advocate. Very interesting conversation I remember a very long time ago. I'm not going to tell you the year because then you'll find out my age. Let's say it was almost around 40 years ago. A conversation happened between a lawyer in Ooty, and we were all in a place called, anybody from Ooty here? Okay. We were all staying in a place called the Lolly Institute, which is 300 meters from the Botanical Gardens. Beautiful club, old British club. There was a difference of opinion between a doctor and a lawyer in respect of which profession is the greater one. And the doctor said, our profession is obviously the better one, because if we make a mistake, a life is affected. So the lawyer said, if we make a mistake, generations are affected. The point that I'm trying to make is, communication plays a role in everything. In order to save a life, there has to be perfect coordination and communication between everybody. According to me, that's the most important thing in this world. The ability to save a patient. All of us are, I'm a lawyer, Siva's a lawyer, many of you are lawyers here, lawyers to be. Notwithstanding that, there is no higher profession than the medical profession because of the fact that it can save lives. The point is communication skills. So therefore, in everything in this world, effective communication is necessary, and communication skills are very, very important. Now, this is all the more relevant and important in the legal field. The reasons. It starts off with the client. All of you are in, which year are you guys? Final years. Then answers also group activity, is it? Okay. After you become lawyers, ultimately, initially a client will come. He tells you the facts. At that point of time, in order to communicate, he is communicating with you. You, as a lawyer, you have to be a good listener. You have to listen. You cannot be like me, interrupting everybody every 2 seconds. You have to listen. Number one. Number two, the client will tell you 187 different things. As a lawyer, as a professional, it is your job to sift through those facts, and the facts which are all the facts that are relevant for that case, and the facts are important to the case and the relief that he seeks, and you will have to prepare either a notice or a memo or a plaint petition, whatever. Now, the next part is that communication is not just limited to verbal things, but also to the written thing. Because ultimately, communication is only an expression of your thoughts, so that the other person understands. So, once you put down your thoughts on paper, it is in effect communication to the court. Communication to the court is last paragraph therefore we seek the following prayer, and the prayer is sought for on the basis of paragraphs 1 to 9, and the prayer is in paragraph 10. That is an expression of your communication on paper. Officially, in legal parlance, as per the law dictionaries, it's called pleadings. I'm sure you would have come across it somewhere. Now, this is the communication of the case of your client to the court. The next step or the next stage, if there is evidence in that case, in the case of suits or original petitions, in writ petitions, of course, you don't have evidence, you can bring whatever paper you want, you can file whatever things you want, you can argue whatever you want. Suits and petitions are not like that. You cannot give evidence which is out of your pleadings, and therefore you cannot argue anything which is outside your pleadings. So the next stage is evidence, if any, after evidence is concluded, is the most important part of a lawyer's communication ability to convince the judge that your client's case is a genuine one, number one. Number two, that the defense of the other side is not, shall we say, it is false. And to convince the judge that he has to give a judgment in favor of your client. And that depends exclusively on the communication skills of that lawyer. I'm presuming that it is you. What is important is clarity of thought and expression, and how you want to interpret either the facts, the evidence, or the law. So that is insofar as communication skills inside the courtroom is concerned, inside the court hall in a particular case before the judge. Outside court also, communication skills, especially for lawyers, have become important over the last 2 decades. Why? The answer is the blossoming field of legal services. No longer are you called a lawyer only if you go to court and argue a case. Nowadays, lawyers are corporate lawyers who work from their offices in nice air-conditioned comfort. Lawyers are in-house counsel. Lawyers are retainers who never come to court. And in places like Bombay and Calcutta, lawyers are also solicitors who do not do a case by themselves. They only brief or instruct. Now, in those circumstances, communication skills are essential. Ada thavara, we are talking about a situation where real estate lawyers, aggregators, companies, for example, Nokia comes into Tamil Nadu, Motorola comes into Tamil Nadu. They obviously will not be operating from this particular hall. They will have to sort of aggregate lands, buy a huge extent of land, adala factory katti. They will have to comply with not only the local laws, the labor laws, every conceivable statutory requirements, and then they will have to start their production. So those kind of lawyers are called aggregators. So all these are not people or not lawyers who come to court and argue. All these are lawyers who do various legal services. When you talk about these kind of lawyers, we are talking about interacting with, number one, in the case of a real estate or registration lawyer, the sub-registrar office. Sub-registrar office, all of us know, there is something called a table for the sub-registrar. So the communication with the sub-registrar in many cases is under the table. I'm sure all of you know that. Okay. Apart from that, you have to interact with the sub-registrar. Lawyers who obtain pattas for you, lawyers who obtain certified copies for you, they will have to interact with the revenue officials, the VAOs and the Tahsildars and the RDOs and the DROs, 101 revenue officials. And then we're talking about those lawyers who are aggregators for huge multinationals which want to set up shop in Tamil Nadu or in any place in India. They are the face of the company and they interact with government departments. So in all these categories, communication is very important because we are talking about a lot of money and a lot of stakes being involved. So in these circumstances, outside court also communication skills are necessary. Then, just as in the case of the SMS regarding B.Ed, Bad communication can result in litigation. And I'm not, though the example about the divorce case was a true life incident, I'm not, that was merely to get a laugh and nothing else. But bad communication can more often than not result in litigation. Litigation comes back to court or it goes before arbitration, where your communication skills are important, like I told you before. And then there are cases where the court feels that this is not a case which should run its course and therefore refers it to alternate dispute resolution, mediation, conciliation, whatever. At that point of time, the lawyer plays a very, very crucial role. I'm being very open. I'm always a very outspoken person. Most settlements happen because the lawyers are so inclined. And most settlements that do not happen also are due to lawyers. They do not allow matters to be settled. And therefore, at that point of time, there are two things which you as lawyers, to be budding young lawyers, have to be aware of. Number one is confidentiality. And number two is maintaining propriety. Confidentiality, why? Have all you people covered the Evidence Act? Okay, I'm sure you know which provision relates to privileged communication. Who leaked out my speech? Okay, right. Cherry, I hope your evidence professor isn't here. She's here? Okay, right. So, number one, privileged communication. Though in a mediation or a conciliation, whatever you say inside the mediation hall cannot be repeated outside, cannot be relied upon. That's not the issue. The issue is if the lawyer representing a particular party in a mediation, normally mediation, they do not allow lawyers too much of a say, but lawyers are normally present. If the lawyer says something, especially the defendant's lawyer, it could be revealing your hand to the other side. So therefore, you will have to be very, very careful about the extent of your communication, number one. Number two is the question of propriety. When we're talking about propriety, don't think about what propriety has to do with communication skills. Ultimately, propriety is something that is very, very closely connected with ethics. And therefore, you can say whatever you want. Can you say it to the other side directly? So those are slightly gray areas of confidentiality and propriety that are there in your communications outside the court. Then we're talking about written communications. When we talk about written communications, we're talking about your letters to your client. That's okay, because at least the client knows his case. We're talking about your opinions to your client or to a corporate. It should make sense. And therefore, there is something called the art of writing. You should, I'm not saying everybody cannot master everything. It should at least convey your client's intention. It should convey the purpose for which the notice or the opinion is being given. And it should also convey what you intend to do. That's in respect of opinions and notices. Then we come to this curious thing called a reply notice. Once a notice comes, your client will be somebody called Munsami from Gumdipundi. He will come and tell you 101 things. Just because he comes and tells you 101 things, please don't put down the 101 things on the reply notice. You will have to decide from among the various facts that Munsami tells you, எதை ஆட் பண்ணலாம் எதை சொல்ல வேண்டாம். I'm not asking you to lie. உடனே don't go back to your parents and say that Sriram ஒருத்தன் வந்தான், he asked us to suppress things. No. I'm only saying add those things and present those things that are relevant. The reason that I am saying it is, this is Munsami, this is Ramswamy. They could be neighbors and there will be a dispute in respect of their common wall. At which point of time this fight over this wall would have been going on for the past 20 years. Therefore, there will be a lot of hostility between the neighbors and there will be a lot of bad blood between the neighbors. And the situation Ramswamy will tell you 101 things, including the fact he will say Munsami is a bad fellow. Munsami's got an illegitimate family in the next village. All that is not relevant to the issue of enjoyment of the common wall. Please be very, very clear in your written communication and confine it only to those things that are necessary for that particular notice or reply. The meaning will have to be conveyed, the intention will have to be conveyed. Then, effective communication, basically communication skills, what does it help you with? Number one, relationship with your clients. Relationship with your clients is a very, very difficult thing because it involves an element of dependency, it involves an element of trust, it involves, I have seen, and I don't know how many of you have done court visits. Okay. இந்த ஊட்டி பசங்க எல்லாருமே கொஞ்சம் அதிக பிரசங்கியா, எல்லாத்துக்கும் கை தூக்குற நீ. Okay. I don't know how many of you have gone inside the court hall presided over by Justice P.T. Asha. Justice P.T. Asha will always say, she recounts an anecdote as to why and how the ordinary litigant holds lawyers and judges and the court in such high esteem. Just the way a litigant just before going into a temple will remove his footwear, slipper or shoe, the same way before they get into the box, not nowadays, but most people, they will remove their slippers and most of them ஒரு sort of ஒரு கும்பிடு போட்டுட்டு தான் they will get into the box. So that is the level at which the normal litigant looks at you. So please be aware that with a lot of responsibility comes a lot of accountability. The reason that I'm saying it is, whenever something happens in court, remember the legal profession and the medical profession are the only two professions which make money on the misery of humankind. There's no two opinions about that. ஒருத்தன் கஷ்டத்தில் இருக்கான், we make money. Medical profession, ஒருத்தன் கஷ்டத்தில் இருக்கான், they make money. Therefore, these are the only two professions where you are paid in order to experiment. And therefore, your accountability is very, very high. You are answerable. In the introduction, where's the girl who gave the introduction? She's not here. Oh, very good. Very good. Okay. She said, Sriram appears for a lot of temples. That's the truth. My office started in 1931, my grandfather. From then, we've been appearing for and against temples. 1986, my grandfather passed away. And with him, we decided to be a bit more God-fearing. We stopped appearing against temples. ஒரே ஒரு கேஸ் இருந்தது as against Piney Temple, which my father filed. That first appeal came up before a wonderfully accommodating judge called Justice R. Balasubramaniam. And I went because by that time I had enrolled, I went and appeared against Piney Temple. So he looked at me and he said, Sriram, why are you appearing against a temple? I said, it's just a case. So he said, no, if your father was here, he will never agree. I said, please look at the year of the appeal. That was done probably when I was in school. So he just kept quiet. From 1994, that's the year in which I enrolled, I have not appeared against one single temple. Okay? The reason is not that Sami Ratri vandu kanna kuttom. Adu madri, I'm not very, Siva knows, I'm not very religious, surprisingly. When I became a senior advocate in 2023 beginning, I was appearing, at that point of time, I was appearing for around 150 temples all over Tamil Nadu. All the major temples, except Sriram temple kadayadu and Piney temple kadayadu. Piney temple vandu Barni. And Sriram temple, though I have a name called Sriram, unfortunately my religious mark is a Vibhuti and not a Namam, and therefore Sriram temple will not engage me. It is yet another thing. Yes, all these things happen. It is yet another thing that the council for Sriram temple engages me. That's a different issue. But the council on record is not me. The reason that I am saying it is, in temple matters, believe me, when we've appeared for Tiruvannamalai temple and Vadapayani temple and Patsadi temple, we've had open offers to favor the other side. It would have been very easy. So, that propriety, that ethics, I'm coming back to that. It's not really related to communication skills, but a good communication skill in that situation will be what I told somebody. There was a fight between Vadapayani temple and St. Joseph's College, Trichy. And something like this happened. Communication skills were to the effect, sir, neenga unga vakilukku kudunga, kovil vandu enakku kudupanga. Thank you very much, but no thanks. So, propriety and ethics are also very, very important, and they play a role in shaping your communication skills. So, that is trust. The next thing is, what does it help in? It helps in you creating a reputation for yourself. How does that reputation help? Reputation is of two kinds, basically, in court. Number one, a person who does a case well. And number two, a person who does a case fairly. These two things, communication skills will help you. Communication skills are essential in order to do a case well. I am not trying to say that நீங்க எல்லாரும் வந்து குவீன் எலிசபெத்தோட சித்தப்பா பசங்களா இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னு நான் சொல்ல வரல. I'm not saying that. But for all those, நான் யாரையும் குத்தம் சொல்றேன்னு நினச்சிக்க வேண்டாம், but for all those who are not conversant with English, I have only one example to give. My father studied in Tamil medium, entire schooling. My father did his BA in the same old Vivekananda college, which I'm not very happy about. That's a different thing. He did his BA also in Tamil. He joined law college in 1962. And the first day he told me, I don't know how many of you got jurisprudence as a subject. Have you come across a book written by Monica David? உங்களுக்கு தெரியாதா? சரி, ஓகே, வெரி குட், எக்ஸலண்ட். உங்களோட ஜூரிஸ்ப்ரூடன்ஸ் எழுதியிருக்கிறது யாரு? இந்த கைட் சீரீஸா? ஓகே, ரைட். My father told me the first day of law college, Monica David was his lecturer in Madras Law College and she was taking jurisprudence. And he said, I could not understand a single word of what she said, and therefore First day evening, straight from Law College, he went to Mylapore Tank. அங்கே வந்து விஜயா ஸ்டோர்ஸ்னு ஒன்று இருக்குது. அங்கே வந்து ABCD books வாங்கி, my father started reading the alphabet in 1962. I am not trying to say Tamil கூடாதுன்னு, but please do not limit your borders. Tappo righto, English is the language that is prevalently used in most courts all over India. அதுக்குன்னு வந்து உத்தரப்பிரதேஷுக்கு போயிட்டு வந்து don't expect the judge to understand English, they will not. Bangalore yes, but Uttar Pradesh no. If you go outside Tamil Nadu, the language of the court is English. So therefore, you don't have to be fabulous in English, but you need to have a basic working knowledge. So therefore, please do remember that communication skills are not restricted to your hometown alone. You should not restrict yourself, and in fact you should look to go out of the state to do various cases in various courts, for which your communication skills can only be in English, unless of course you want to learn Bhojpuri or Hindi or things like that. That's a different issue. Okay, the next thing, what does it help in? Like I told you, he's a counsel who does his case well, he's a counsel who does his case fairly. Okay. Now subsequently, it might be very difficult for you to understand, but anyway I will tell you. There are situations in court where the judge will have a AK-47 in his hand and he will be firing all around. He will be firing all around. Do not take it amiss that he is firing at you. He is firing at your client. And Order 3 CPC, you're an agent of your client. So, Contract Act, law of agency, you're being fired at. So, there is nothing personal in it. So, therefore, you will have to necessarily ensure that you be dispassionate when addressing the court. Please do not get personal. Please do not get personal. Most lawyers get personal. Please do not be that way. Try to develop a dispassionate way. Ultimately, lawyers are called professionals, and a professional means a person who takes a sum of money in order to do a job. Start with that and end with that, full stop. Okay. So therefore, for lawyers, once you realize the fact that communication skills are necessary, relevant and important outside the court halls also, it is an indispensable tool for all lawyers 24/7. Why that happens? Why 24/7? Nowadays, a lot of cases come for people. Are you guys aware of the Commercial Courts Act? Okay, there is something called a pre-suit notice. Are you aware? No. Okay. Please read it up. There is something called a pre-suit notice where you will have to suggest mediation. At that stage, lawyers are definitely involved. So, at that stage, it is negotiation. And at the stage of negotiation, it is your communication skills to highlight the strong points of your client and play down the weak points that may ultimately help in a settlement. So, for negotiation, which is mandatorily required under some acts now, communication skills are important. And then we come to this very, very curious relationship between the lawyer and the court. Always a slightly controversial topic. In 2022, or 2021, I'm not too sure. 2022, January or February. Justice Seshasai and me were called to talk to all the newly elevated High Court judges all over India at the National Judicial Academy. And the director of the National Judicial Academy called me and asked me whether I could come and address the judges. I told him, this is exactly what I told him. I told him I don't want to lecture on boring things like the law. So I'm sure there are enough people for that. So he told me, no, sir, I know exactly the topic that I want you to talk on. So I asked him, what was that? He said, relationship between the bar and the bench. So we spoke on that, and I forget the name. It's recorded, and I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube, so it's not a closely guarded secret, so I can say that. There was this newly elevated judge in the Calcutta High Court, one lady, Calcutta or Jharkhand or one of those places. So we were on VC, she was on VC, and we were also on VC. So she said, there was this interaction session after I'd finished talking. And she said, sir, I have a question. I said, please. She said, when I am in court over the last 15 days, 20 days, a lot of lawyers come and address me as my lord. I am very offended, sir, because I want them to call me my lady. So, what to do? So, I thought about it for a second, and then I say, I'm sure, ma'am, that you know the General Clauses Act. Reference to masculine means reference to feminine as well. So, you needn't take offense at that. That is number one. And now, so, I was doing the VC from home, and I said, if I come to your court, I cannot call you my lady because my lady who is sitting next to me will take offense. The sad part was, okay. Ultimately, everything boils down to how you communicate, how you depict your thought, how you create a certain idea. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, no judges here? இல்லையா? அவங்க இருந்திருந்தா இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக இருக்கும். Okay. Lawyers and judges ஒரு கேஸ் வந்து ஹீட்டடாக நடந்துட்டு இருக்கும்போது they might get irritated with each other. Might இல்லை, they do get irritated with each other. Professional propriety, not courtesy. Professional propriety demands that we keep the exchanges at a civil level. நான் மனசுக்குள்ள என்ன வேணா நினைக்கலாம் about the judge. He could think whatever he wants about me. But ultimately, we need to restrict our exchanges at a civil level. And that is one of the most important things that you should keep in mind. This is relatable to what I said about the judges firing you. It's not you. Sometimes, to truth be told, judges do get upset with a lawyer per se, but most of the times judges get upset with the client. And just like we say, Lord, I only tried to go into that house to bring my child out, but my wife, she tried doing this. So when the lawyer says this, he says I, obviously meaning his client or the husband. Similarly, when the judge says you are a fraud, it does not mean the lawyer. It only means that the judge is referring to the client per se that you are representing. So therefore, this exchange between the bar and the bench needs to be acceptable and needs to be in a manner that will not cause any insulting words. Number two, aggression is never a part of good communication, effective communication, or communication skills. Please Please, I have never been aggressive in all my life. I've never been. In fact, just an aside, my son finished his standard 12, and then he's actually far more eloquent than me, a very stage performer like me, a debater, etc. So most people thought that he would come into the law. So I asked him, do you want to get into law? அப்படின்னு 11th ஸ்டாண்டர்டில் கேட்டேன். பாரதி ராஜா படம் பார்த்துருக்கீங்களா? பாரதி ராஜா யாருன்னே தெரியாதா? ஓகே, பாரதி ராஜா படத்தில் வந்து ஃபஸ்ட்டு சீனு கையை தூக்கிட்டான் அவன். இசட்டை ஆளை விட்டுருங்க அப்படின்னா. ஸோ ஆஃப்டர் his 12th, he went to the US for his undergrad. He finished his master's. He's working there. Then I have a daughter who's even more of a rascal than me. And she's artistically inclined. So we thought, why konja jasti? So we thought maybe she'll become a lawyer. We asked her whether she wants to become a lawyer. She said, no, I'm going to London to do my master's. So she just finished her master's. In fact, July 16th was her convocation, and we went for that. And on the day when we were on the flight, my mother passed away. July 19th, we were on a flight from London, and my mother passed away. Now, the reason that I'm telling you is, what is ordained will definitely happen. If you're meant to be a lawyer, you will become a lawyer. Believe me, today, if people take off the senior gown and all that and let me do 2 cross-examinations or 3 cross-examinations a day, I would love it. I would love it because that is my passion. But unfortunately, senior advocates வந்து trials எல்லாம் வந்து very rare, far and few in between. So go by your heart. Go by what your heart tells you. Law is a profession. You can make money, no doubt. But it is a passion for many. And if you're passionate about it, I mean, that's the best profession to be in. It's the best profession to be in. Another reason why the law is a great profession. Communication skills. ஒரு ஜட்ஜையே வந்து சமாளிச்சிட்டோம், சீனியரை சமாளிக்க முடியாதா? ஈஸியாக சமாளிக்க முடியும். So therefore, Rajinikanth first day, first show, you can take off. ஏன் ஆஃபீஸ்லனா you can take off. உங்கள் சீனியர்ஸ் பற்றி எனக்கு தெரியாது. இன்ஃபேக்ட் நான் சொல்லுவேன் வந்து நீங்கள் ஃபஸ்ட் டே ஃபஸ்ட் ஷோக்கு போகிறீங்கன்னா எனக்கும் சேர்த்து ஒரு டிக்கெட் வாங்குங்கன்னு. I will say that. Though not at 7 o'clock in the morning. No. Okay. Number 2, you have the flexibility. As a junior, you may not have the flexibility, but as you advance in the profession, you will have the flexibility. If you've done enough work for a month, on the 22nd of August, you can close your office and you can go to Ooty. ஒரு பேச்சுக்கு சொன்னப்பா, தப்பா நினச்சிக்காத. கொடைக்கானல் for that matter. Okay. Then you have this flexibility of arranging your work. You can take 1 case a week, 1 case a day, 1 case per hour. You have that flexibility. It all depends on ultimately what you want to do, how much you want to do, and in what manner you want to do. Whether you want to be a robo doing 24/7 work, or you want to be a human, you want to do something you're passionate about and also enjoying yourself. Okay. Another thing that is never part of communication, any kind of communication, is insulting the other side. That's definitely not the done thing. Remember, you're here to do a job. The other side is also here to do a job. And it's not your job, your province, or your intention to insult the other side. Even if he insults you, leave it at that. Number one. Number two, unparliamentary language. Strict no-no. Strict no-no, please do not go by what is portrayed on the screen as being a true picture of what happens inside courts. It's not. First of all, when the Gandhiyoda photo irukadu, I hope you know that. I hope you know that. Okay, no Gandhiji's photograph, no statue of the goddess of justice, nothing. In the high courts now, after the refurbishment of various court halls, the high court's insignia has been done. And if you want to know more about the history of the high court, there is something called a heritage walk. How many of you have come for the heritage walk? Excellent. So none of you want to know about the heritage of the high court. There is something called a heritage walk that takes place around once in 2 months. Probably I will pass on, the next time we're doing it, we'll pass on the information to your professors. That's a very nice and interesting way to find out about the history of the high court. So ultimately what I'm trying to say is, you are going to be a professional, and whatever happens inside the court hall, you react as a professional. You don't react as Sriram or Siva or anybody like that. You react as a professional. And then one of the most important things which aids your communication, now skills in kuda sollala, which aids your communication. Sharan, I hope you're taking notes. You are, okay. Sharan there is just waiting to enroll. There was nobody to bring my iPad, so I called him. Okay. Something that aids your communication. Always play to your strengths. Always play to your strengths. Siva will be good in one particular field. Concentrate on that, but do not let the other things by the wayside. Try to improve in that, but emphasize your strengths. Similarly, there are people whose arguing skills will not be too high, but who will be very, very effective in cross-examination. Their communication is trying to get the better of a witness in cross-examination. So at that point of time, whoever is good in cross-examination, play to your strength, concentrate on cross-examination. Whoever is good in arguing, people who can assimilate facts in their head and argue, please do argue. People who are not good in cross-examination or arguments, become a senior advocate like me, who can talk extempore on irrelevant things. It's a very, very simple thing. Always play to your strengths and try to improve upon your deficiencies or weaknesses. That will help your communication. Number two, எனக்கு தமிழ் தெரியாது, to tell you the truth. That's why when they said கொஞ்சம் bilingual, I was a bit apprehensive. But notwithstanding that, I'm not for a minute trying to say that English is the language. No. But all I'm saying is, whichever be the language, please make it as simple as possible. Don't have a sentence which starts at page 23 bottom and goes on till page 24 middle. Please don't. Write it in simple words, say it in simple words. That's the best way to make people understand. Please remember, even if you are very, very good, whether in English, Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, the person to whom you are talking should be able to understand the language well, at the same speed and at the same intensity. So try to make things as simple as possible. And then as far as I'm concerned, it's worked very well. Humor. If you are humorous, use humor in the court hall. But then, not everybody. If it is not your cup of tea, please do not touch humor even slightly, because a bad joke will have the effect of insulting people. So therefore, do not attempt it. A serious situation can be diffused by using some humor. Or around maybe a week or 10 days ago, a writ appeal came up before the first bench, the acting Chief Justice and Justice Kumaresh Babu. I had succeeded before the single judge, and the Housing Board was on appeal. So after arguments for almost, the Advocate General argued and then I argued. After around 30-35 minutes, the bench suggested, why don't you try to settle the matter, because we see that the difference is only around 80 lakhs, 80. So I said, we've tried it, it's really not happening. So the judges said, the bench said, Sriram, with your persuasive capacity, I'm sure you will be able to advise your client properly. It was a very, very serious thing, because we were making all sorts of allegations against the managing director, right down to the watchman of Housing Board. So very, very serious, half an hour, 35 minutes, etc. And then the bench said, we are sure that you will be able to persuade your client to settle the matter. Please advise them. I said, Lord, the writ petitioner is unfortunately an advocate. They're only used to giving advice, they don't take advice. So that serious situation was slightly diffused because of that. I'm only saying, humor at yourself is a very, very nice way to diffuse situations. If you're a bit unsure of humor, please don't touch it with a 10-foot barge pole. I don't know, since none of you raised your hands in respect of this heritage walk, I must tell you that the Madras High Court has completed 150 years. I hope you know that. You know that? Okay. In 1962, the centenary of the Madras High Court was celebrated. And one of the leading members of the bar brought out a book called The Century Completed, one gentleman by name V.C. Gopal Ratnam. Century Completed, it was about the High Court. It had different chapters. One chapter about the building, one chapter about the characters, one chapter was humor in court. This was all pre-independence. There was this British judge who was presiding over, I think it was the insolvency court. And a British lawyer, I'm not mentioning names, a British lawyer was appearing before him. And this judge, we had all characters. Other interesting persons, both lawyers and judges, they were all very, very interesting people. So there was this European judge who had this strange habit of coming onto the dais and sitting, and he would bring his pet dog along with him onto the dais. So, and when lawyers used to argue, this man would be, touching his dog and smoothing out its mane, its hair, etc. So there was this British lawyer who was arguing, and suddenly the judge turned around and he was trying to do something with the dog. I believe it's recorded in this book by V.C. Gopal Ratnam. This British lawyer, he stopped arguing and he just sat down. And then a couple of minutes later, this judge turned around from the dog, turned to this lawyer and said, yes, you were arguing something. So this man had the guts to stand up and say, I'm sorry, I thought your lordships were in consultation. That was the courage. Please do not repeat it in any court after you become lawyers. You'll be hauled up for contempt. Okay, so that is V.C. Gopal Ratnam. So ultimately, for good communication skills, is language a barrier? From personal experience of my father, the answer is no. You should probably know all the facts, especially for juniors. You should know all the facts, and you should try to read up on the law. நான் சாதாரணமாக வந்து ஜூனியர்ஸ்க்கு law ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு அட்வைஸே பண்ண மாட்டேன். There's only one request I have. How many of you check out Manupatra and SCC online? My request would be please stop. My request would be please stop. I'll tell you why. When we were youngsters, I'm sure all of us, when we were youngsters, if we had to look up the proposition of adverse possession, there was no search on the computer. We had to look up a book. அந்த புக்கை பார்க்கும்போது பேர் ஆக்டை பார்க்க மாட்டோம், லிட்ரேச்சரை பார்ப்போம், கமெண்ட்ரிஸ் பார்ப்போம். அந்த புக்கை பார்க்கும்போது வேற ஏதாவது ஒரு கேஸுக்கு தேவையான ஒரு கேஸ் மாட்டோம் அதில். That is how you improve yourself as for keeping abreast with the law, getting to know the changes in the position of the law as declared by the Supreme Court. Incidentally, adverse possession as a concept, in which act does it find a place? I can't hear you at all. Transfer, how many people say Transfer of Property Act? Avladana. Okay. Any other act? The 2017 Tenancy Act, the new Tenancy Act. Okay. Any other answer? Easement Act. Any other answer? Limitation Act. Any other? Okay. Can anybody tell me where is it defined in any of those acts that you mentioned? Is it? Mani, மனசுக்குள்ளேயே பேசிக்காதம்மா, எங்க காதுல விடுற மாதிரி பேசு. That is part of effective communication. Specific Relief Act. Okay. Please go back. Please have this as the project for this evening. Please go back and see. You've heard all the acts being said by various students here. Please go back and check whether adverse possession is defined under any of these acts, whether those words find a place. Please do not Google now. Please do not Google now. Check whether it finds a place in any of these acts, and if you find it, please let me know. I'm very eager to know that. Okay? Courtesy to the other side and respect to the court, respect to the bench. The respect need not be for the person who is sitting there. The respect is for the seat. A combination of all this will definitely ensure that the manner in which you communicate will definitely improve. It's only a continuous process. Communication per se is a continuous process. What you are today, you will definitely be better tomorrow. These are just some of my thoughts in respect of good communication skills and what leads to effective communication. These are all things that have helped me, and believe me, I've never sat for any speech when I was a student. I've never attended college. That's a different thing. I was telling them. And Siva also said that he's also not attended class. So we were all happy. We were all happy. I think attendance was not an issue then. Okay. Attendance was not an issue then. Please, please, whether you take my speech to heart or not, please don't follow us as role models. We were all extremely bad students. We were extremely bad students. The reason that I'm saying extremely bad students is அதுக்கு கீழே எனக்கு சொல்ல தெரியல. That's the reason. We've never ever attended class. I'm not too sure that it was a good thing, but we were bad, we were indisciplined, we were totally irregular. We used to come to the college campus, of course. We never used to go into class. We also used to, the reason that we came to college, that my friend and I, the reason that we came to college was to ensure that we could go for stage performances, skits and ADZAP for another 3 years. That's the only reason that we came into law college. And I hope all of you have a wonderful future. I'm a person who strongly believes that the world is in your hands. The world is, in this case, literally the legal profession. It's in your hands. Whether you want to run with it or you want to just keep it aside and just walk away is left to you. All the very, very best. Best of luck for your exams, and this can be interpreted in whichever way you want. I hope to see you soon at the bar. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks to the Law University, the Department of Law, and the MBA of which I am a part for calling me as a night watchman in order to fit into Mohan's shoes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for equipping us with the nuances of the communication skills. I'm very sure that the insights we learned from you, it's going to be helpful for us both in our personal and professional lives. And I think now I would abide by with Shiva sir's words when he said, "You are a man of both wit and wisdom." So no issues, sir. I was just telling that we would definitely now agree to Shiva sir when he told that you are a man of both wit and wisdom. Thank you, sir. And I would just like to conclude by telling one thing. We don't know how the substitutes of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are going to be, but indeed you were the best substitute that we could ever find for Mohan, sir. Thank you for this engaging session, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the session. Yes, sir, please.
அப்போ கூட சப்ஸ்டியூட் தான். தேங்க்யூம்மா. இப்போ தான் வந்து நீ என்னை பற்றி எவ்வளோ ரொம்ப பெருமையாக யோசிச்சுருந்தேன்னு இப்போ தான் கண்டுபிடிச்சேன். No, the reason that I came back is I didn't see that Mr. Om Prakash is there. அவன் முன்னாடியே இருந்துன்னு தெரிஞ்சிருந்ததுன்னா வந்து அவனை பற்றி ஒரு 2-3 விஷயம் சொல்லியிருப்பேன். About the cases that we've done against each other. Om, are you there? Okay. Right. Thank you.
Sir, I think we have to tell something about substitutes, sir. I think this reaction, I think, will give the reason for substitute. தெரியும்ல உங்களுக்கு ஒரு ஃபேக்கல்ட்டி வரலன்னா ஒரு ஃபேக்கல்ட்டி சப்ஸ்டியூட் என்ன பண்ணுவோன்றது தெரியும். So we were in that, I think we were in the impression that substitute is that, but really though I came at the mid or half, at the end, the reaction and the appreciation shows and how it has been done. Thank you so much, sir. So with this note, we are coming to the end of first day, this 3-day workshop, and we want to thank everyone for your presence and your observation and your attention for the entire day. So on behalf of Law University and the Department of Law, Government of Tamil Nadu, Directorate of Legal Studies and the Madras Bar Association, We thank each and everyone, the students, the faculty coordinators, resource persons, media persons, and all other members from bar and bench, those who came forward and entertain our students with their knowledge and disseminating the knowledge.